Shalom, and thank you for joining us for another edition of Coffee with the Consulate. I'm so pleased for the opportunity to continue our diplomatic work, this time online, to share with our audience some meaningful discussions on leadership and international affairs. I would like to thank the Jewish Herald Voice for serving as our media partner for this program, and I'd like to welcome our moderator, Aaron Howard, staff writer at the Jewish Herald Voice. It is my honor to welcome my good friend, Arkansas's Governor Asa Hutchinson. Governor Hutchinson is the 46th governor of Arkansas. He has been recognized as a national leader in promoting computer science education. Governor Hutchinson has previously served as United States Attorney for the Western District of Arkansas, representative in the United States Congress, and in the George W. Bush administration as director of the DEA, and later as the Undersecretary for the Department of Homeland Security. I had the pleasure of first meeting Governor Hutchinson in Israel in 2017. He has been a leading figure in the strengthening of Arkansas and Israel relations. Governor, thank you for your support and thank you for joining us. Now, before we begin, before I hand over the mic to Aaron, I have a very, very sensitive and important question to ask both of you, but first you, Governor. How do you take your coffee?
Well, thank you, Consul General. And I like my coffee straight in the morning, and I like a cappuccino in the afternoon. You keep it going all day long.
Okay, that's fine with me. So let's make a lechaim with the coffee with the Consulate. Lechaim to us all, and the floor is yours, Aaron.
Thank you. Well, we know how you take your coffee. I'm going to fire a few fast questions at both of you and keep your answers short. What's your go-to pick-me-up? The one thing you do in the morning routine that gets you energized or motivated through the day, Governor?
100 jumping jacks. I got to have my exercise in the morning. That's the only thing that gets me through the day. 100?
Whoa. Okay.
Consul General?
Well, I have younger kids. My youngest is 8 years old. So if I want it or I don't want it, when I get up, she's there and it's a big hug. And from there, it only gets better.
Governor, what's the one word that best describes your leadership style?
Supportive. I believe in getting people around me that you support and you encourage. I don't like leadership by dictate or by yelling. I like a supportive leadership style, and I think that's what hopefully describes me.
Consul General?
Well, it's almost the same thing. It's teamwork, working together, understanding that you're not just a one-man show, and allowing others to help you help yourself. From my very short few years of experience, the team with you is what makes you succeed or fail.
Governor, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
It'd have to come from my dad, and my dad was a poultry and cattle farmer in Northwest Arkansas. He had a high school education, but he always wanted something more for his children. I was the youngest of 6 children, and the advice that he gave me all the time was don't take yourself too seriously, which was just his expression of saying don't get too big for your britches. And, you know, you've got to keep, whether you're governor or whether you're some high position, you got to understand, listen, we're all in this boat together, and we're all swimming upstream and struggling together. So you can't take yourself too seriously.
Consul General, best piece of advice you've ever received?
Well, that was also from my dad, and he told us always, me and my siblings, to always remember the values that we were educated on. That is where we come from, and that's where we will go to at the end of the day.
Governor, I have a personal question to ask you. You've been in public service for over 30 years. What drives you to do the work you do? And if you weren't in doing public service work, what would you be doing?
Well, that's a great question. And, I look at my life, and I've been in and out of public service, always striving to make a difference in our society and community. And that's what drives me in public service is the impact that you have on others. You have the impact through policy, decisions make a difference, but also just in individual relationships. And that's a real joy is to know people, to touch their lives. And, what would I do if I was not involved in public service right now? Well, there's been over 20 years of my life that I was not in public service, and I was a lawyer. I made my living that way. It was a skill that I enjoyed. I tried a lot of cases before a jury, and that's sort of my go-to because you can make a difference in politics. You can also make a difference pursuing justice for everyday citizens.
For the Consul General, your background includes some time in journalism. Is that a field that you'd like to return to at some point in your career?
Well, I was around 10 years a journalist, 10 very fascinating and intensive years. I loved it, but I don't think I'll go back. I learned from my experience that one should always strive to try and accomplish new horizons. And the journalism part of my life is behind me. From time to time, I even think about all sorts of experiences that I had there. But no, I don't think I'll go back. I liked it. It was a very, very fascinating period of my career. But I don't think I'll be back. I just would like to, as a journalist and as an Israeli journalist, I'd like to just ask Governor Hutchinson, would you recommend your kids going into politics?
Yes, if they had the desire for it. Now, I have 4 children, three sons and a daughter, and none of them are in politics.
And you like it?
And it's fine. But at the same time, they've all been supportive of me. They pull for me, and they understand the importance of it. They've made a lot of sacrifices, but in life, you pursue your dreams and your passions, and I would never want someone to pursue politics for sure without a passion and an understanding that life goes on without it, because there's, being a football coach can be tough, but being in politics is even tougher.
That's for sure.
Especially these days. Governor, you've been quite prolific in your support of Israel in Arkansas and vital to the strengthening of the Arkansas-Israeli relationship. What drives your support? And why do you think that the U.S.-Israeli alliance is so important? And what's the role that Arkansas plays in furthering this partnership?
Wow. That's, you can look at it at the level of friendship and democracy, and the fact that Israel was formed coming out of persecution and then has become such a close friend and ally of the United States. That in and of itself speaks for the importance of that relationship. Then you look at it from a national security standpoint. The security of Israel is the security of the United States of America. It is the security of the Middle East. And so that constancy in relationship is critical. There's also, of course, some values that go back to the role of Judaism, of the biblical lands. Everybody has an attachment there as well. And for all those reasons, I'm a supporter of Israel and always will be. Now, I was able to make my first trip to Israel when I was in Congress. I made my second trip when I was in Homeland Security, and obviously saw the great security work that Israel does. And then I was able to go back as governor in that capacity as well. So I love my trips there to Israel, and we hope we maintain and increase that great relationship we've had.
For the Consul General, why is the alliance with the United States so important to Israel? And what are the critical areas of the Arkansas-Israel relationship in your view?
Well, the alliance with the United States as a nation, as people, is vital for the security and the existence of the State of Israel. The United States, obviously, is the superpower. United States is the, I would say, the leading democracy in the world. And United States has shown throughout history that it stands on the right side of the history. It will always defend the right side of history, and that's why I think it is not only natural, but I think Israel and the United States share the same values, just as the governor said, and it's vital for Israel. On the local perspective of Arkansas and Israel, I can say two things. First of all, from my own experience, I believe in P2P, people to people, and I think that I recommend my fellow Israelis to go visit Arkansas. Arkansas is a beautiful state. I've been there with my family. Actually, my first trip in the United States was to Arkansas with my family to a place called Hot Springs. And I recommend it to my family. I recommend it to all my friends. And it's very important because when people come, visit, see, and feel the place, then they get attached to it. And on a more, I would say, more on a national level, Arkansas and Israel share the same values. We have trade between the two entities. And I think that understanding that people that support us, that stand with us, and I just now can recall when I was with Governor Hutchinson, I was with him in his visit to Israel in 2017 before I even started my tenure, and I visited him in his chamber. And I also had the privilege and honor to speak on the floor of your house in Arkansas. That was after the BDS bill was taken, a very, very important bill that Arkansas was one of the first states that led it. And I thank you, Governor, on this opportunity, and also Senator Jason and others. So to your question, I think Arkansas and Israel have a lot of similarities. One of them is that both of us are quite small states.
Governor, I'd like to ask you a question about COVID. The people of Arkansas really seem to have pulled together during this time under your leadership. What has made the greatest impression on you in this time? And have there been any specific instances that have given you hope and encouragement for the future?
And the answer is yes. The people of Arkansas have just been fantastic. They understand the challenge. You look back early on, March 11, when we had our first COVID case and it became an emergency, people did not understand what we're dealing with. The science was not there yet. We're trying to grasp with the level of the virus and its spread. And so it was fear. And that's why it was so important that I communicate daily to Arkansans directly in my daily COVID updates, which I did for over 100 times during the early days of this pandemic. And what that did was it built a trust relationship. We shared our twists and our curves, the unpredictability of this, what we're grappling with from testing to the science of it, to building the infrastructure. for contact tracing, the frustration of not getting reagents or PPE. And so they went with me through this journey. And what you learn is that when you're truthful, when you're open with people, they stand with you and they'll follow you. And it has been very, very difficult for everyone because fatigue sets in and they get weary. Nobody likes wearing a mask. Nobody likes the high case numbers, but we're all pulling together. And so what I've learned from this is that no one expected us to be in this for 7-8 months. It'll be longer, and yet we're still there. Our economy is doing well. People are working again, and we're being careful. Now our cases are high, but we're all pulling together to do the right thing. And I think what we've all learned from this is that you can't shut down life. Life has to continue. And we have to have things that happen in our life, whether it is a visitation with our loved one in a nursing home, or whether it is going to school, or whether it is a sports activity. Now, we can only do those things when you're careful and you follow guidelines, but that's what we've learned is let's try to live life and be safe and careful at the same time. Hopefully we can get through this. We will get through this. And of course, the greatest hope we have is when this vaccine comes. And I know that Israel's working hard on that. I know that the United States and Israel will be partners in this vaccine development and distribution, because we want both of our peoples to have access to what is so important for our future.
My next question is to the both of you, starting with you, Governor. The peace agreements, the Abrahamic Accords, and the most recent agreement with Sudan have been blockbuster deals for diplomatic relations. They leave the groundwork, the possible groundwork for peace in the region. Why is this significant? And what do you see happening in the future? What would you like to see happen in the future?
Well, that's a great question. And of course, I would like to see more nations recognize Israel and their right to exist, to share diplomatic relations. And that's what is necessary and important. And I was thrilled during the Trump administration that we had some of these diplomatic successes. I hope that Vice President Biden, now President-elect Biden, will be able to follow through and have to build and encourage other nations in the Middle East to similarly recognize Israel, to develop relationships, and not just on the surface, but genuine, seeking better security and be a part of the security fabric of the Middle East. That is my hope.
Consul General?
First of all, I agree with all what the governor said. I think I just would like to add two more aspects. First of all is prosperity. It is well known that when there is prosperity, people tend to be able to reach out to others, recognize them, and eventually live among them peacefully. And I think that prosperity today in the Middle East is one of the most important things. Israel is considered to be today the leading country, the only democratic country and the leading country economic-wise, and we can help other countries. Of course, it'll be quid pro quo, but this is very, very important, prosperity. And the other thing is, as I said earlier, people to people. People have to get to know others. I think that the Abraham Accords with the Emirates and Bahrain, and now we also have Sudan, when they will eventually, finally, get to know Israelis, when Israelis will visit those countries and will start having business with them, they'll get to know Israelis, they will see that we are made of flesh and blood, both of us. There's no difference. Once they'll understand that, then they'll understand that it is for their interest that these accords and these peace treaties have been done. They'll be thankful for the leaders that have done it. And as Governor Hutchinson mentioned earlier, our goal is to have as many peace processes and many peace treaties with many other Muslim Arab countries in the region, the Middle East. This is our goal. This is where we're striving. And I hope that with the United States, the administration, we will continue striving for those countries to have peace treaty with us. We are totally open-minded for them, and we're reaching out for them.
Gentlemen, unfortunately, we've run out of time. I want to thank Governor Asa Hutchinson and Consul General Gilad Katz for the conversation, and thank you, viewers, for tuning in. Please join us for the next installment of Coffee with the Consulate, coming soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Gilad. Appreciate it. Great job, Aaron, in moderating it. It was a joy to be with you today.
Thank you.